Welcome to Factual America, the channel where facts matter, debates are encouraged, and truth rises above the noise. Today, we tackle one of the most urgent and controversial issues facing the United States at this very moment: America's southern border. An invasion by invitation? We're diving deep into what's happening at the border, who's coming in, why it's happening at such a massive scale now, and who, if anyone, actually benefits from this tidal wave of illegal migration. Buckle up as we sift through headlines, dispel propaganda, and get to the truth, because the answers might surprise you. Let's start with the numbers, because numbers don't lie. In 2023 alone, U.S. Customs and Border Protection reported over 2.4 million encounters with illegal migrants at the southern border. That's not a typo. 2.4 million. To put it into perspective, that's larger than the population of 13 different U.S. states. Are these just headlines, or do these numbers represent the contours of a genuine crisis? Even the mainstream media, which often downplays the border situation, is now using the word unsustainable. But what does unsustainable actually mean? You've probably heard politicians refer to our border as broken, but broken implies it's accidental. When policies consistently lead to surging numbers year after year, can it still be called an accident? Under the current administration, enforcement of existing laws has been relaxed, with catch-and-release policies, extended parole for migrants, and record numbers of releases into the interior. Is this simply bureaucratic ineptitude, or is it something more deliberate? Let's look at how this all began. The historical context is crucial. For decades, the U.S. has had a push-and-pull relationship with its southern border. In the 1990s and early 2000s, illegal crossings were high, but at least both parties pretended to seek a solution. Fast forward to the past decade, and the politics shifted. Border security became a wedge issue rather than a bipartisan priority. The conversation changed from "how do we control this?" to "is it even worth controlling?" You'd think with the digital age, information would cut through propaganda. Yet media coverage has become more polarized, and narratives about the border are often filtered through ideological lenses. While conservative outlets depict a chaotic flood, progressive media frame the crisis as a humanitarian challenge. Notice the shift from national security to empathy. But should these two concerns be mutually exclusive? Here's where things take a twist. Why have border crossings surged to historic highs? We're told it's down to root causes: violence, poverty, and climate change in Central and South America. But if these were the only factors, why weren't there mass surges during previous administrations? Something changed. Experts point to policy signals, especially the language used by American leaders. When the U.S. government signals amnesty, leniency, or even ambiguity, word travels fast. Migrant caravans explicitly cite hope of acceptance under current policies as their reason for making the trek. It gets more complicated. Human smuggling is now a billion-dollar industry. Cartel and trafficking organizations are exploiting American policies, charging migrants thousands for a risky journey, and even using children as tickets to gain easier entry. Illegals who make it across aren't just families escaping hardship. There's a growing mix of single adults, people with criminal backgrounds, and in some shocking cases, even individuals on international terror watch lists. All this begs the question, is this an invasion by invitation? And if so, who's inviting? Is it simply well-meaning officials set on building a more compassionate America? Or are there deeper political motives at play? Some critics suggest an attempt to build a permanent voting bloc. Think about it. Mass immigration, especially if followed by amnesty, would fundamentally alter the political makeup of entire states, possibly the whole country. Is this mere conspiracy, or a strategy hiding in plain sight? Maybe you think this sounds far-fetched, but let's look at the data. In the 2020 census, states with the highest levels of new arrivals, California, Texas, and Florida, reap increased congressional representation as a result of population boosts, ultimately impacting the balance of power in Washington. This isn't speculation, this is mathematical reality. Every migrant, legal or illegal, figures into the population counts that determine federal representation. Cue the objections. But immigrants built America. Weren't your ancestors or mine once new arrivals? That's true. America's greatness flows from lawful, orderly immigration grounded in assimilation. But open border chaos isn't the same as the Ellis Island experience. The difference? Intent, scale, and respect for the rule of law. Past generations queued, were screened, and pledged allegiance to American values. How can you assimilate tens of thousands dumped into cities in the dead of night with zero resources, let alone respect for our laws? If you're one of the countless Americans living in a border state, you don't need cable news to know there's a crisis because you live it every day. Ranchers find cut fences and trash land. Entire communities are transformed overnight. Rural hospitals and schools are stretched thin. Local law enforcement is overwhelmed with serious crimes, assaults, theft, drug trafficking, spiking. For every compassionate policy, there's a very real and sometimes tragic impact on the lives of everyday citizens. You might wonder, why don't border authorities just turn people away? Here's the inconvenient truth. Many officials are hamstrung by federal mandates and court rulings. The infamous catch-and-release protocol often forces agents to process, then set free, border crossers with promises to appear at a future hearing, which data shows most never attend. The system is clogged, broken, and critics say, deliberately toothless. Another twist, sanctuary cities. From New York to Los Angeles, these urban centers knowingly flout federal immigration law, advertising themselves as open to illegal migrants. The intention? To shield people from unfair deportation. The reality? Strained budgets, rising homelessness, emergency hotels full of migrants, and growing backlash even among longtime liberal voters. The chickens have come home to roost, and sanctuary city leaders are now begging Washington for help. There's a humanitarian tragedy in all this too, one both sides acknowledge, just from opposite angles. Families fleeing real danger are enticed by promises of easy entry, only to become pawns of brutal cartels. Desperate parents send unaccompanied minors on a perilous journey, only for many to disappear into the system, exploited along the way. Where is the compassion in policies that incentivize human suffering? Let's examine the economic angle. The White House says migrants fuel America's workforce, taking jobs Americans won't do. But is this even true anymore? The competition for low-skilled work has never been higher, with rising automation and a softening job market. Meanwhile, the cost of public welfare, education, healthcare, and law enforcement tied to illegal migration is estimated in the hundreds of billions of dollars each year. Who picks up that tab? Spoiler, it's you, the American taxpayer. For those who try to draw a line between humanitarianism and open borders, think again. The cartels have learned to game our compassion by separating children from adults, creating confusion, and stalling deportations. People crossing often claim asylum, a process that was originally meant to protect genuine fugitives, not economic migrants. The result? The system is bogged down, riddled with abuse, and unable to serve those in actual need. Public safety is another overlooked casualty. Major cities are seeing spikes in crimes ranging from assaults and theft to more serious offenses. Law enforcement admits that most criminal illegal aliens arrested for violent crimes had already been caught and released multiple times, thanks to lenient policies and bureaucratic paralysis. How about the myth that illegal migration is only about poor families? The Department of Homeland Security has flagged a record number of special interest aliens, people from hostile regions or countries with terrorist links. In 2023, over 150 people on national security watch lists were apprehended at the southern border. How many got through undetected? No one can say. This isn't mere negligence. It's a rolling of the dice with American lives. For all the talk about dreamers and refugees, we're losing sight of the law-abiding, would-be legal immigrants, stuck in endless lines and paperwork abroad. What message does it send when illegal entry is rewarded, but legal patience is punished? Shouldn't smart policy encourage those who respect the rules instead of those who cut the line? Let's return to the question that started it all. Is this an invasion by invitation? When authorities broadcast, directly or indirectly, a message of leniency or guaranteed entry, it's an open invitation to millions. This isn't just a border crisis, it's a national crisis, manufactured by political malpractice, ideological blindness, or perhaps deliberate intent. So what should America do? Strong nations control their borders. Compassion is meaningless if it produces chaos and harm. We need reforms that deter illegal entry, expedite fair asylum cases, reward legal immigration, and put American security and sovereignty first. Citizenship is a privilege, not an accident of geography. Our policies must reflect that before it's too late. We've covered a lot of ground today, from the chaos at the border to the political and economic fallout, and the humanitarian tragedy at its heart. But the story doesn't end here. This is a defining issue for our generation. Where do you stand? Is our border crisis just politics as usual? Or is America truly facing an invasion by invitation? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Do you agree with the idea that America's border is being intentionally left open? Or do you think it's just the result of failed policies and bureaucracy? And what topics do you want Factual America to cover next? As always, if you found this video helpful or thought-provoking, give us a like, subscribe for more discussions, and share with anyone who cares about America's future. Until next time, stay informed and never stop seeking the facts.